Well, it's a mountain whose climbing is shaping as a political pilgrimage and whose high numbers are central in succession politics. A region that is at the heart of the August polls. Good evening. We debate the central question on Pundit's Night, and welcome to the broadcast. But before we get to our discussion tonight, we have some breaking news, which is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission's Dispute Tribunal has locked out Mike Sonko from possibly vying for the Mombasa gubernatorial seat. Remember that tribunal was delivering on whether Sonko can, despite being impeached, despite being a governor of Nairobi County, be in a position to vie for the Mombasa gubernatorial seat. Now we have an update that Wiper and the governor's legal team says it's proceeding to the High Court to challenge that decision. We have live pictures from the Milimani Law Courts. Let's quickly cross over and listen in as we get back to our discussion.
A political party has not contravened any law. There is no reason to deny it the opportunity to field a candidate in any election. We know that Wiper Party may not have been vigilant and diligent when it came to the fielding of Ms. Kilonzo. Nonetheless, we find that the order that addresses itself to the circumstances and requirements of the Constitution and our society is to allow Wiper Party to exercise its right to nominate another candidate. From the material before the committee, there is no accusation or allegation herein of any wrongdoing or contravention of any known law by the complainant, that is in brackets Wiper Party, in the process leading to the registration of the first introduced party. Accordingly, the complainant is utterly blameless, and the committee finds and holds that the complainant deserves an opportunity in furtherance of its legitimate expectation, which, by the decision in the Kilonzo case, Supra, is underpinned in the Constitution. This committee is cognizant of the fact that the complainant herein did not pray for a specific order for replacement of its nominee should the disqualification of the first interested party be upheld by the committee. However, unless the committee be accused of framing and issuing orders in favor of the complainant, we know that the complainant sought, in quotes, any other relief that the Honorable Committee shall deem it fit to grant, in quotes. The committee finds and holds that this is an appropriate prayer for the committee to issue appropriate reliefs in the circumstances of the complaint. Accordingly, the committee orders as follows. The orders as follows, and the chair of the committee will read those orders.
So, a declaration be and is hereby issued that the complainant, that is the Wiper Party, has a right to nominate a candidate to contest for the position of Governor Mombasa County in the 9th August 2022 general election. Should the complainant deem it fit to nominate an alternative candidate in place of its now disqualified nominee, the first interested party, the said complainant's alternative nominee shall present his or her nomination papers to the County Returning Officer, Mombasa County, not later than 72 hours from the date of this decision for possible clearance and registration as a candidate for the position. For the avoidance of doubt, this decision does not constitute an automatic clearance of the complainant's replacement nominee to contest for the position of Governor Mombasa County. Whether or not the new nominee is eventually registered as a candidate is subject to compliance with all applicable laws and regulations as shall be determined by the County Returning Officer, and each party is to bear its own costs. Yes, Council. For purposes of an appeal?
Yes.
Okay.
And more specifically, Your Honor, we'll be saying that we have applied the audio recording.
Okay.
So, in a law court, so that it's not presented outside.
Good. Nobody proposes to edit anything. Sawa. Yes, Mukele.
Yeah, I have heard the sentiments of my colleagues. There was quite a bit of emotion.
It's now gone down.
Hopefully it has gone down. But even as we consider this, it is important for the panel to consider the modern style in which it presents its proceedings. Requirements as to raw proceedings and other kinds. I don't know about that. The question is, in what way does this panel present its proceedings? So it presents its proceedings for the purpose of any other further action. So, the tribunal then should not be bullied and must act.
No, we don't intend to be bullied.
Yes.
That does not exist in our vocabulary. This will come and go. Nyam will remain my friend. Miss Lumalas will remain my friend. Honorable Manzo will remain my friend. I've made new friends like Atisia. I've made new friends Michire. Oginga is an old friend. This will come and go. And most importantly, I don't intend to the Court of Appeal. I intend to go elsewhere. And Dr. Kaminoa will be my referee.
Those are live pictures from Milimani Law Courts, where the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission's Dispute Tribunal has disqualified, locking out Mombasa gubernatorial aspirant Mike Sonko from contesting for that seat. The Wiper Party and its legal battalion insisting that they will challenge that decision at the High Court. The court and the tribunal in its ruling has allowed Wiper Party, giving the party 72 hours to nominate a new nominee in replacement of the disqualified, who is former Nairobi governor, impeached, who was seeking to be the governor of Mombasa County. Let's get to our discussion now. Our guest tonight in studio is the Deputy Governor, Laikipia County. John Mwaniki is with us. Mheshimiwa, good evening, and thank you for your time tonight.
Much.
Perhaps before we get to the politics of Central Kenya, which will form the base of our discussion, your quick reaction to the breaking news.
I think the positive side of the ruling is that Wiper Party has an opportunity in 72 hours to nominate an alternative candidate. But I think for Sonko, his fate is as it was, hasn't changed. He stands impeached, and in the purviews of county government management of resources and finance, people need to take impeachment processes very serious. In fact, this brings the question of the process of an impeachment. What motivates the county assembly? How is it handled at the Senate level? I think we need to review this going forward and have it a bit more clear and more concrete, so that you saw the case of the Kiambu CC, Karunga, who was again also bad because of having been impeached. So I think the impeachment is a way that has to be therefore very clear in terms of what is the procedure and how do we deal with it, because you can see it has future implications into people's political careers. But I need to say that if you have been, cited for abuse of public resources, then you cannot be entrusted to manage public resources going forward. And I think as a people, we must also agree that if you're a bad manager, unless you've gone back to, a training and you have successfully completed a certain course, you shouldn't just say that time is enough for you to have learned your mistakes.
And how much of an alarm should this be to politicians, in the sense that a tribunal ruling can puncture the career of someone who has been impeached?
I think if we look at how the impeachment of I think a couple of governors has been done, where the Senate sits way up to midnight and the next morning the Gazette notice is issued, it's also a bit cheeky in itself, because it looks like it's a hide and seek sort of thing. But the moral of it is that if you are entrusted with management of public resources, please do it according to the law, and you will live happily.
All right, and let's get to discussion for the night. 49 days to the 9th of August polls. Mheshimiwa, we have seen ugly pictures yesterday at Jacaranda. Protest, chaos and confrontation, confusion at the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio rally clashes. Should we be concerned? 49 days to the polls?
One of the things that we do in politics is that we also cause chaos on ourselves to seek sympathy. I'm not saying that's what happened yesterday, but let's not be quick to judge that it's a case of Azimio aggressing on Kenya Kwanza. I think we need to let the investigators do their work properly, because...
Are you suggesting it could be an insider job of one coalition party?
We have seen politicians making themselves disappear during the campaign season to seek sympathy vote, and they appear only on the voting day. Some looking like they have just been recovered from, some dirty caravans, yet they were just enjoying their time. There are tactics that both good and bad that politicians use, but let's condemn violence in whatever shape and form. It is not right. It doesn't add you more votes by being violent on your brother or your sister. In any case, voting is on 9th, on 10th, you and I continue living. Nobody is a visitor in Kenya. We're all Kenyans. And we are believers, I believe so, and there's certainly going to be one president ruling this country after 9th. It cannot be 2 or 3. So we have to accept that we have decency and decorum as we campaign, as we convince citizens to consider our manifestos. If we are lucky to convince the voter, and we also have the blessings of the Lord, we will be voted in. If you are not voted in that time, live to fight another day. Don't aggress your brother to the extent of harming him. Because of what purpose when you become a leader where a nation is divided, where you have lost lives? There's no sweetness in that leadership.
All right, Mheshimiwa, we're talking of Central and the question and the card politically of Central as a region. Is it a card strategic primarily because of the numbers of voters, or is it a case of Central being better negotiators?
I think if you look at politics is a game of numbers.
Yes.
So if a certain region has projects a basket of votes, you can expect that everyone will want to, interest them, will want to woo them, because at the end of it, what makes you win is 50+1. So if Region A gives you an advantage of 20% or so, you'll definitely spend more time with them. You'll want to woo them more, because then once they're on your side, then you have a head start on your competitor. And this things about the issue about Central Kenya is that 6 months ago, the situation was different from today. We can now be able to start having a semblance of certainty in terms of projections. Which way is the Central Kenya vote going to go? Traditionally, it has gone into one basket. We know now for certain that there will be a divide in Central Kenya vote. And
we will come to which way Central will go. 2 of the leading presidential candidates have both their running mates from Central region. Raila Odinga, Azimio la Umoja, the name of Martha Karua as a running mate. Deputy President William Ruto picking Rigathi Gachagua. This seems as though for anyone intending to win, Central must be a basket.
Actually, let me correct you. There are 4 presidential candidates. Each one of them...
Yes.
3 or 4, I thought there were actually 4. Each one of them has actually a running mate from Central Kenya. Interesting.
But 2 of the leading.
Okay, fine. The leading one. I think what you are saying is that why would they pick a running mate from the same region? It's because of the same issue we have raised about numbers. Central Kenya says about number of votes. If you can convince those votes to join your camp, then you have head start on your competitor. And one of the easiest way to cancel out that advantage is to also reign on the same region, and each party nominates a running mate from the same region. So what you do is that then you don't have one candidate having overdue advantage. Would one of the candidates have picked a running mate from another region? The answer is yes. And would it have made a difference? Perhaps not, perhaps yes. The answer is only on 9th.
And of who of the 2 leading, because I'm a bit specific to the 2, do you, in your view, think got a running mate who will guarantee them a substantial percentage of voters from that region?
I think we need to be methodical in this one, because look, before William Ruto nominated Rigathi Gachagua, his rating in Mount Kenya was quite high. Rating for Raila was quite low. If you look at when Ruto nominated Rigathi, his rating didn't change in terms of gain. Now, when you look at Raila Odinga, his rating in terms of what he gained by nominating Martha was quite substantive. So you would say that the decision for Raila to nominate Martha gave him a huge advantage in terms of accessing the votes or convincing the voter in Mount Kenya to consider his bid. Yeah.
All right, you're watching Pundits Night. Remember, you can be part of this discussion. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use is Pundits Night. Time for us to take a short break. Stay with this discussion. We'll be back after this break.
You are watching TV 47.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger.
Welcome back to Pundits Night. Thank you for staying with Kenya's fastest growing television. We are making sense of the central question ahead of the 9th of August polls, the numbers, the politics, and the alignments and realignments ahead of the general election. Just a reminder of who our guest is with me in studio is Deputy Governor Laikipia County, John Mwaniki. Before we went for the break, we are talking of the selection of two of the leading candidates, presidential candidates, selecting both their running mates from that region, which in a nutshell, we talked of why the region matters politically, primarily because of the numbers. One candidate in particular, Raila Odinga, picked a woman, Martha Karua. There are those who argue this is a strategic women card, more importantly, to persuade the women of the country, and particularly also the women of Central? Your views?
It's a yes or no answer because, look, we must stop viewing our leaders in terms of gender because really leadership is not about whether you're a man or a woman. You may be a man and you are very poor in leadership. You may be a lady, and the same case. But let me just point one thing that I think we need to take a note of. If you look at the aftermath of the running mates appointment or nomination for that matter, you can actually see the outcome. In Azimio, there is cohesion, there is teamwork, there is progression. In Kenya Kwanza, in fighting, total chaos are set in, meaning something went wrong. Because if you look at the ratings for William Ruto right now, I'm not sure whether he has actually gained. I probably think that he has actually dropped because as Raila gains, William drops. But even look at the latest, in fighting in Kiambu, for example, where the other principals are complaining that they have been edged out of meetings that are Kenya Kwanza oriented, but only one part of Kenya Kwanza is having access and being able to organize that. If you flip on the Azimio side, you'll find that, look at the meeting the Raila had in Meru. It is properly, bus is there, the NAC Kenya is there, Jubilee is there. I mean, all Wiper is there. The teams have been able to put together and work very well. We hope that unless Kenya Kwanza reorganizes itself very quickly, they're in for a rude shock. Because as we near the D-Day, and more what you're witnessing is more and more in fighting, is actually a gain for the Azimio.
And you say they're in for a rude shock. Deputy President William Ruto is someone many had termed as though he had made impactful inroads in Central Kenya politically. Some saying he is, in quotes, the regional kingpin. You don't view it that way, do you?
You cannot be a kingpin of a region that you don't belong to. I mean, that's just rhetoric, because how? It's not possible. They are sons and daughters of that region, and when they call themselves to order, you'll be shocked, because they will disown you. I think what we need to take note here is that the early campaign of William Ruto is now coming to bite him, because you cannot sustain a campaign for 4 years, because even the message that you give the people is one and the same. You do not have a message for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. If you look at Raila's campaign, is a 6-month affair, and you're able to sustain that message, and that's one lesson. Frankly, I do think once we are done with this election, the Mount Kenya University Business School should write a thesis about the impact of our campaign in the economy. The case of William Ruto, the Deputy President of Kenya, 4 years. Remember, every time William...
But given that he's the first among the running presidential candidates who took his message to Central Kenya, some would argue the region listened to him. That's why
I don't think so, because
he regards it as his backyard somewhat.
But look at it this way. You're campaigning alone. What do you expect the ordinary citizen to do? The ordinary citizen will follow you up, will come to listen to you, because no one else is selling anything in town. When the candidates show up and they have different manifestos, different messages, then the citizen is able to sit down and analyze and say, well, look a minute, I think this other team has a better message. Remember, for the longest of time, the William message has always been bashing the Raila Odinga on the handshake. Now, Raila has come to the campaign trail not to bash William, but to talk about solutions with his 10-point agenda. And there becomes the difference. Now, adding on Mother's experience and her, being able to... See, Central Kenya is looking in this election, who takes care of our interest. Now, indeed, yes, William was ahead. But when Mother comes into the game, they're able to say, wait a minute, this is an Iron Lady who we know her history and ability to defend. How she defended Mike Baki. So therefore, they're able to look at it and say, we actually could be in good hands with your Mother. And that, I've been to engage voters in Laikipia, and I asked them candidly, so what do you think about, how did you feel when Mother was nominated? Oh, people have really embraced and they're saying, wow, it is actually we never expected. So that in itself earned a big chunk of trust. Because again, you have to trust the candidate in terms of, if I give you my vote, I'm actually going to feel the value of it.
And Deputy Governor, with Raila picking Martha, it was an attempt to climb the mountain. He insists as late of today that he is climbing the mountain. Is Raila climbing the mountain politically?
I think Raila climbed the mountain long time ago. Raila is settling at the mountain. He is now getting to know the inside of the mountain. Because, can I tell you something for a fact? 8 months ago, you will not find 2 people out of 10 talk about Raila. Today, 6 people out of 10 are talking about Raila. In central Kenya, you do not wear an ODM cap in any political rally. Today, if you wear a Raila Odinga cap and you walk around, nobody will bother you. And that speaks for me. I keep saying, the fact that Raila was never able to penetrate central Kenya, and today he's a household name, is good enough.
Household name, yes. Will that translate possibly to votes for Raila Odinga come the 9th of August? Bearing in mind, this is a region that fairly will agree Raila was sold, demonized to, called names that we can't tonight say on live television.
It is also, well, that was politics. And in politics, in trying to be a better guy than your competitor, we know there's what we call use of all manner of persuasion, propaganda, and what have you. But let me put this in context. We have 2 leading candidates. The fact that we do not have a tiebreaker, then it means you are either on Raila's side or you're on William's side. That in itself, the ability to bring closer and for, have Akina Musalia, Akina Kalonzo, Akina Gideon, Akina Gilu in either of the 2 sides has made it very easy for the voter to choose which side to be. So I definitely think that from a statistical point of view, the vote that Raila is going to get will be quite high. Remember, his traditional voting bloc has remained intact, or rather to a larger extent, has been convinced that, look, we always lost elections because we never had Central Kenya vote. Now we are already having inroads into it. We have a running mate from there. Why would you leave? Is another time for us to get to Canaan, as they've always said. And they're now coming trooping back, and you have seen in eastern part, they trooped back. The Ma community is solidly behind Raila Odinga. So they are now realizing, by the way, it is time for us to actually clinch this trophy. So I see that William has a lot of work to do because he has to eat into Raila's traditional bloc substantially. Remember, we said...
You say William has a lot of work to do?
Yes.
But given the politics observably of numbers, given that he was among the first to go to Central and pitch tent, given that he picked what some would say is a deputy who is a mobilizer, you believe he still has a lot to do?
All those factors were idealistic before.
Are they?
Right now, they are not. The reality is, William needed 95% of Central Kenya to be on his side. That would have meant that block Raila from accessing Central at all costs. I mean, we're talking about politically, not in terms of aggression. And that didn't work because, first, on his own accord, Raila was able to gain 20%, 25%. Add on to Mother, he's now doing at almost 60%. So, which means he has reduced the numbers for William. Now, does William have the same numbers as Raila have outside Central? As your guess is as good as mine, not as much. So which means, therefore, if you put the other regions here, Raila versus William, Raila will be way, way ahead. So which means the dependable block for William has been cannibalized heavily by Raila. So unless something else, William changes his tactic, at the rate at which he's going with the infighting, he's going to be in for a rude shock.
All right, an important player in this 2022 succession politics, though his succession, is President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the president of the country, will be leaving office after serving the constitutional 2 terms of 5 years each. Some had indicated as though he is in the lame duck stages of his presidency with little to zero influence. Does President Uhuru Kenyatta have political influence on central Kenya?
First of all, I think Uhuru is a genius in politics.
In what way is he?
Look, he's 49 days in still to go home, and he's very much alive. I mean, you've seen he's busy commissioning projects. He's busy ensuring that his promises and his manifesto, his agenda in government is fulfilled. That is unlike other previous cases where we have seen the outgoing president is pretty much less involved. Now, in terms of succession, I would say that Uhuru still controls a huge number of followers in this country. And I have said it before that whoever Uhuru says, I would vote for so-and-so, because he has a vote, he's a Kenyan, he's allowed to vote. Those who believe in him will follow his idea. It doesn't mean he's in controlling or influencing his succession. I said, unless we are arguing that once the president term comes to an end, he has no influence on his key supporters. There are supporters who have supported Uhuru for the last 25 years. They will not do anything. They will be saying, we are waiting for Uhuru to tell us which way to go. And once he says that, the majority will not agree with him, but there are those, what I would call key supporters, who have actually to take their vote where he takes his.
And given that the president has told his supporters the political direction he will want them to choose, he has endorsed publicly the Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga. Does that put more weight in terms of politics to Raila's?
Definitely. I mean, as a politician, even if another politician is able to say, look, for all intents and purposes, for this position that Maniki is vying for, I think he's a better candidate, I would be very happy. But remember, suppose Uhuru never publicly spoke about his preference, it will still not change, because outside the public arena, people ask him, okay, which way do we go? So either he would have chosen to say, I am not involved, I have no preference, let you people go and decide who you want to vote for. But is that being a responsible leader? I don't think so. And remember, these two gentlemen who are competing, no one understands them better than the current president, because they have been together. So when he chooses to say, I think for me, I would be more comfortable when Raila continues with this great work of developing this country, there must be reasons. And you and I will only be left speculating.
And does that then, as some say, pose a political danger to Raila Odinga, to the extent that some describe him as a political project of the state, of the president?
You know, you must understand who is Raila. Raila he's vying for the 5th time. I don't think the definition of a project starts that way.
But when he is backed, some say funded, endorsed by the president?
I think that is just hearsay. Because I haven't seen anywhere documents showing that the president has gone to state coffers, taken taxpayers' money and said, I'm funding Raila. He himself, as an individual, has his own, investments. He could as well say, I am going to support so-and-so. I mean, presidents support each other, even in foreign nations. You could find a president here supporting another president from another nation because of the interest, of the regional interest in terms of economic development. I think the issue that we must come out clearly and say is that I haven't witnessed state involvement. When I talk about state is the key government ministries, you're finding public servants involved in campaigning for Raila. It doesn't happen that way. And you see, all this is here. Look, today, William was having a political meeting in his official residence. Who is now a state project? Is it not him? Because he's actually using state resources. So if you define a state project is use of state resources, then William fits the description more than Raila.
But when key senior government officials, some CSs, other powerful PSs, are seemingly soft to Raila Odinga, endorsing him publicly?
I can agree on the CSs, and I would try to explain why, but I haven't seen PSs come out to campaign for Raila Odinga. But a CS, remember, is a state officer. I mean, and it's different. as he has term ends with the president, he's actually a political appointee. Remember, before the current dispensation, an MP would be a minister. So he's actually a politician, so to speak. And those CSs that are not politicians in their career, you are not seeing them on the trail. I think the only CSs you see is Jean, you see Peter Munya. Who else is involved? And those are real politicians from the heydays of their life. You do expect.
All right, I want us to finish with the question of Central. For purpose of guidance and numbers, which way for Central? Who between the four, in your view, has the best interest of Central at heart?
I think obviously the answer is almost like day and night. You can see the Azimio group is very well organized, has a very clear direction on how they are going to support the region. First of all, the issue of Babacare, and I must explain this very clearly. There is no other burden in central Kenya as healthcare. Most families have lost their wealth, their investment, as they sell their property to pay off the bills for their loved ones. The fact that Raila Manifesto reads clearly that there will be no more cost of healthcare, it's a major, it's a major boost for the central Kenya because of the lifestyle that is there. A lot of cancer cases are actually in central Kenya. The issue of education. And this is why we were raising the issue of 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. Because you'd find that the bursary amounts awarded to Mount Kenya, those who are going to school, the children and the students, it's very little. Now, Raila comes in and says, look, no more issues of bursaries, no more issues of fees, just the child gets into off age to go to school, goes to school all the way to university and college level. That's another major component in terms of the wealth component of the central Kenya people that has been spent on education comes back for food, for clothing and for shelter. So I think if you look at the manifesto aspect, I'm not sure William has such a tangible
thing. To be fair, William, I think
he talks about
is launching his Kenya Kwanza UDA manifesto on the 30th of June. Of course, we will be back.
Which is 30 days. Which is 30 days to election. Not enough time for us to analyze it and tell our people whether that is a good. Anyway, we'll wait and see.
All right. On the 30th of June, UDA will be launching its manifesto. It will be open document for critic as well. Before we finish, let's move from the central question. There is the question of whether there is a runoff or not. Some suggesting as though the entry of a late entrant, such as Professor George Wajakoya, could be causing a runoff. Mathematically, does he stand a chance of causing one?
But then Wajakoya will get about 500,000 votes. That's not enough to cause a runoff. Yeah. I mean, you cannot attack, for instance, the church, and you say, I urge my supporters not to support the Catholic Church. That was his statement today, which is very unfortunate, because how do you want to be a leader then? Anyway, no impact.
All right, John Moniki, because of the interest of time, thank you for
your time. Are you saying you are doubting that?
Well, it's your statement. He is a worthy competitor to the rest. And as media, of course, you allow the people to make their own informed decisions.
I think if you look at the whole issue about the presidential candidates, the fact that we remember in 2013 we had Dida. And he made an impact because we thought he would be able to whip the teaching fraternity, being one of them. You can know the number he got. So I don't think Wajakoya is going to upset the equation that much. In fact, the issue is we might have a very closely contested election between Raila and William. What we must worry about and think about is how do we heal the country after 9th? Because you're going to have like half of the voters are on one side and half on the other side. Yeah.
All right, Deputy Governor, thank you for your time tonight. Well, that is Pundit's Night for tonight. Thanks for watching the conversation.